cities, and our virtual connection falls apart. Guess it's been too many years since California. Now the memories of us is all I have. See, one day I'm gonna reach ya, take a plane for many miles. We pretend that time didn't pass us by when we're on Mulholland Drive. I know it won't be long before dawn, gotta be patient for a while. Someday we'll look at stars in distant sky, when I'm on the other side.
And welcome everybody for the 6th round at the Masters League for Formula Racing League, and here we are in a cloudy Imola and a cold one too, but we are into the qualifying session that will last for the usual 24 minutes, and tonight there are 21 drivers currently going around the Italian racetrack. With, as always, the Silver and the Pro together in the same category, while the IM and the Pro IM class are in a different server. Now the Silver class is starting to run around the famous historical racetrack, which will also host F1 and WEC during the upcoming months. But I think, well, I'm quite sure when WEC is. It's on 21st of April, I think so. Mostly because I will be there. And it's going to also host the usual F1 round. A possible lap time that we would see, it could be roughly around 40-41 for the Pro lap times. Unfortunately, Curtin will not put together a valid lap time, so we will switch to Baselink. As I'm seeing now, slightly different livery for the two cars, with a more yellow one for Baselink, while Curtin is with an orange one. But I think the first driver is going to set a lap time is going to be 789 down here in Rivazza, just in front of the secondary paddock. So apparently Curtin was on a valid lap time. Not sure why it was showing he wasn't. But Brown set second off lap in the lap slower, Castrash 2.2 slower, and Canada just set a 10th away from Curtin. As Curtin is now back onto the racetrack. It's a bit of a long pit lane too. Kuzmenko now is in third, with the next car being Davidson, now in pole position. 41.5 for the McLaren driver, currently in the car 123. As Vella just joined the lobby. So 22 drivers for tonight. Irei in fourth for Majestic T. Just 12 milliseconds ahead of Kuzmenko. And as I'm seeing now, also the Chong set now in 6th for the American driver, with best link remaining, and Rice with a qualiban for this evening. Bogomas to put the car in 7th. We stay with Davidson, who is also improving, but Karner is definitely improving. Consider she's now in pole, 7 times away from Davidson, so this puts Karner in 2nd place. But I thought Rice was with a qualiban, so I went to check if indeed isn't with a qualiban. He simply didn't score a single lap yet. The last qualiban has been issued on the 4th of September, so definitely a long time ago. The McLaren is now on the gravel there into the first chicane. Corbin is also improving on the Mustang with the Can-Am 72 currently sitting in 3rd place. Little loss of traction there into the Acque Minerali and into Variante Alta. The first curb, second one, sliding with the rear, but that's going to be an interesting lap time. I'm not sure if it will be enough to get into 2nd place. It sure will be enough to improve, unless he doesn't put a good line into Rivazza, which he does. Close to the wall, but that's not going to be 2nd place. But that's at the very least enough to get into 3rd, as Irei just put the car in initially 3rd, which then became 4th, slightly after. Curtin is currently now into Variante Alta for the first curve, but then the second. Always a bit tricky to get this right, but from what I'm seeing, that's going to be a 40 without too many issues for Curtin, as Karner put the car in pole with a 40.8. Corbin is also improving a lot in his own lap time. The first car which is going to cross the line for these two is going to be Curtin, so whichever improvement Corbin is making, he will have to go against the Irish driver, which is now in 1st place with a 40.5. It's honestly incredible how quick the cars have and are becoming. 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, this lap time was honestly inconceivable by many, and today the silver class is making it. I still remember once upon a time when 40.5 was deemed esports worthy. And now 40.5 is just enough to get into pole in class, in silver class, not even in pro. So I feel quite good about this improvement in the performance, just like the real life counterpart, but it's always odd to see it. 40.5. I still remember the times, the good old times when if you put a 40 point anything, it was great. And now we already have 3 drivers with a 40, and the pro class will have an easy time to beat it. So I'm suspecting a 39 for the pro class. So last time around for Curtin, still 1 lap to go to improve his overall position at this point, not even the qualifying position. So this will be the end of qualifying for Curtin after going a bit wide there. And Cassitrash is one of the few cars still in contention for pole, as Carner just went off track. So even for the Porsche driver, it's going to be game over for the qualifying. Same goes for the McLaren duo in 6th and 7th. I'm quite sure that if any improvement happens, it's not going to be enough to get into pole. Corbin currently improving his own lap time. Maybe that could put him in 4th in class, but that's about it. Just in front of Rice. As also he also gets into 3rd place. Just at the final turns, but Cassitrash just improves enough to get back into 3rd. As now we get into pro class with unfortunately Wellman being ready into the wall. Dyer is going to start the train of cars behind. as now Dyer just put the first time lap is going to be only a 41.0 for Dyer, as Eck already put the car in first overall with a 40.2. Vella goes on to get it in 8th place overall, same exact lap time as Dyer, and Mikos just behind in 909 Ferrari. Garvey goes in third in the Honda 221 momentarily. As a few other cars still have to score a valid lap time. The next one is going to be Murasaki in the 777. Into Rivazza he goes, and I think it's going to be... Well, honestly I have no clue since I can't really see, but I think 40 may be able to go through. In fact, it's a 40.5. Second place for Murasaki, just behind Eck in his first time lap. But Vella is definitely flying right now. Dyer will not improve since he went off track. Ferrari 296 here could improve by a fair amount. Unfortunately, the chicane went terribly for the Italian, who is now improving, but not as quite as earlier on. Slightly losing the rear. And also that made him lose some time, so he will improve to get into 5th overall. Whilst his teammate is now in 2nd, 1/10 before him sits Eck, still there with a 40.2. Although I think many here will improve in upcoming laps. Alfano unfortunately will not improve as he went off track. So, second chance for the Italian as Murasaki is now in 2nd, barely behind Eck. 27 milliseconds only for the Japanese driver. As Eck massively improved in this very lap with a 39.7, and Hill just follows behind with a 40.1. So still with Murasaki here in Aston Martin vantage. Oh, that's a lot of time being lost there. We can have a better look from the helicam at what happened. He was 2 tenths below himself, and then you can see here he cuts a bit too much and loses the rear. And unfortunately that was enough to set him back into the pits. So second chance even for the Japanese driver. As Vella still has to improve from his 5th place, currently sitting behind his own teammate. As Dyer here also massively improving. that now sets the third fastest time in the standings, 40.2. And I think he will have time to just put together another lap time. For now he is in third. Whilst still two drivers are missing from a valid lap time effort at all. Those are also in Veldman, still 21st and 22nd at the tail end of the grid. Kirby still trying to improve. He currently sits in 8th place behind Silver Pole Sitter, the car number 8. And now also Mikos is in front of him. But the Ferrari doesn't seem to shine in the Pro class compared to the Silver class. Now Garbi is in third all of a sudden from 9th place. But F1 now remains in an untouchable position. The only car below the 39, well, into the 49, below the 40, apologies. And to be fair, I don't think anyone will be able to match him. Alfano is 4 temps below himself. He still has to complete the lap time. And can he do it? Oh, he will not, since he went wide and off track, which is very, very unlucky. He was bound to put the car in second at the very least. Maybe even better, because I'm seeing he's still improving, but unfortunately, whichever lap goes into the bank, it's not going to be a valid one. And even more frustrating, that would have been enough even for pole until now, because she can went a bit south there. But as it stands, he would have put the car in second comfortably. Comfortably. Maybe even pole. Let me see, because it's actually possible. He would have scored 39.6. It would have been pole position for Alfano, and now he has to do it again. Can he make it? Eki is now into the pits, so if anyone can beat him, that's likely the Italian driver here, but also Murasaki. I'm looking at him, he's 5 temps away from pole, and even him is definitely putting together a good lap time. Ooh, that was very good to be in. He gained a lot of time there. It was majestic the way he put together Acque Minerali. Now only the chicane remains, and then Rivazza. Can he nail it? He does so. Only Rivazza remains. It does break in time, it doesn't lose the rear. He's likely does there. And I think he pushed the boundaries too much. He will not be in pole, narrowly, but he will be in second place at the very least. Because he set a time 3 milliseconds off the pole lap. Unfortunately, that mistake into Rivazza relegating him from P1 to P2, but that's going to be good for him. 39.7, it would have been pole earlier on. But Acqua Minerale was absolutely perfect. To be fair, it was so sweet to be in the car in that particular moment. But that's qualifying over. Now we get into the usual drone cam. Where is my controller? And where is this one? As always, it resets. This. And I need OBS. So, okay. So the starting grid, composed by 22 drivers, is with Eck on the right and on pole, with Alfano following, then Hill and Garby on the Honda, Dyer's Mustang and Murasaki's Aston, with Mikos and Vella in 8th place, then Curtin pole sitter in silver class with Karner alongside and Cassitrash behind, with Corving, then Reyes, Irey, Bogomas, Davidson in the last of the McLaren in silver class with the Shong and Kuzmenko, Besselink and Brown in 20th place, and then Olson and Veldman all the way down in 21st, 22nd, although they are in pro class, so it's not a good look for them. Now the season is nearly over, but I think that's going to be a relegation for the next season for the two drivers, which definitely were more in battles with the silver class than the pro class during the year, or during the season, apologies. As in 30 seconds, the cars are going to start the formation lap. Wondering if anyone will stay still. You know, let me see this livery, I'll be honest. Because it's very detailed. It's those two, it's these little moments which are actually very cool to look at. Those little details which usually don't get really much notice in the race, but it's also a good thing to say thank you to all the livery creators for these drivers. And meanwhile, we go into the first chicane. With Variante Villeneuve being next one here. Then we get into Tosa, a hairpin which it's actually quite easy to get good at, but some people try overtakes here to the old seatings, and that's the place where you can also sneak through back on the more illegal parts of the racetrack. To Piratella, left-hander, where some people can get track limits violations on the outside, just here. And then into Acque Minerali 1 e 2. That's the best place to get a back seat, because you have the television here usually. Just a little tip for anyone who is fancy to go there. I never noticed how detailed Imola is compared to some other tracks. I'll be quite honest, and I'm not surprised about it. Then Variante Alta. And then the last part of the circuit, which is Rivazza. Under the bridge here. And into the last two corners of the racetrack. With the Ferrari, which will start from the outside, and the Ford Mustang, which will start from the inside on the racetrack. I'm looking at the liver, it's absurd, I'll be honest. Either way, into Helican we go as always, from the 4th place driver. Asgarby will be our guide for the start. And away we go with all the drivers, with an incredible start by Canner, already gaining the place on his rival Tom Curtin. But back in front there is currently a situation between Eck and Alfano, with Alfano keeping the Ferrari away from the Ford, which is now in 1st place without too many issues. Garbi follows and Dyer behind, with Murasaki in 6th, and Vella, who is still trying to get the overtake done on Mikos. As now Canner is in 1st place. I have no idea what happened, since I didn't lose any frame either, so I think I off-pinged with the server. Luckily I wasn't a driver. As I was saying, Carving is now also ahead of Curtin, who was in 1st at the very start, and now sits in 3rd in class. Alfano is still in 2nd, and with a chunk of time to gain back, whilst Mikos is trying to overtake on the Aston Martin, nearly making contact with the Mustang ahead. Whilst Vella behind is also very interested in making a place into the inside. There is a chance for the Italian behind, but nothing really happens there, as Garbi lost a tremendous amount of time from Hill. Already into the gravel too, and that's just going to be an assist for a Ford Mustang, which is exceptionally fast on the straights, and that's the position done for Dyer with easiness. Behind, Vella goes on inside into the first chicane, but nothing really goes through into Variante Tamburello. Oh, that's difficult. Oh, Dyer is off into the gravel. I think he lost the car completely, and he is now in 13th place. What happened there? Oh, he lost the rear completely on his own and put the car on the gravel and lost every possible position he could have lost. As now he sits in 13th place. Corbing lost the place on Curtin, who is now in 2nd place in class. And behind him there is a very angry Aston Martin, which will probably try the overtake. That's a bit of the track limits. Meanwhile here, Mikos still trying to get the offensive on this Japanese driver, still in 5th place now, while Dyer is definitely angry and hungry for positions. On the outside he goes, making both drivers lose time, since the Mustang is a beast on straights, but that's position done for Brogan Dyer. And in front it still goes on, oh, slightly on the grass, nearly doing a Russell. But that's off the racing line for the Murasaki, who goes off, puts also Mikos into the gravel, and as a consequence Bella passes both of them, and the same happens for a brief moment. This is going to happen, but I think Karner will stay behind the Aston Martin, who is still trying to defend against the Ferrari, who nearly spins on its own wheel behind the Rice to put the overtake. Oh, that's also a contact between Corvin and Dyer, but as I was saying, Karner and Murasaki still battling for position into Piratella. And from the outside, that was a majestic pass for Karner, who put the car in 6th place, so my statement ultimately is correct. Both Karner and Vella passed both drivers, with Mikos who also lost the position on Curtin, and maybe, just maybe, Ores too. Meanwhile, behind, Casitara loses the position. Oh, that's a contact between the two drivers, between Mikos and Dyer. With Dyer who also, with Mikos who also lost the position on the Rice. As now a little train forms behind the car 909, and here for the lead there is a possible overtake between Alfano and Eck, with the Italian remaining behind, and also between Karner and Murasaki, with Aston Martin going back in front of the silver class. But yeah, Mikos lost a tremendous amount of time, 2 seconds nearly. Whilst ahead, Alfano is now side by side with Benjamin Eck in the Ford Mustang, and the Ferrari is into the inside. It launches the car into the inside and makes the place for himself, and now the Italian is ahead of everyone else, with Alfano for Gladius competitions in 1st place, and Eck following just behind in number 51, and Hill also in 3rd. Back behind, it's still a race against Curtin. Curtin going extremely wide there into Acqua Minerali, and leaving the door open. But nothing really happens there. Meanwhile, Corvin and Casitra still battling for position, just leaving the door open for Irei behind, who makes a double pass, and both cars now are behind the car number 9, McLaren. We just passed both of them. Oh, little contact between the drivers, and also Casitra is now ahead of Corvin for a brief moment, the very least. Which I think the brief moment becomes a long moment, as also the McLaren number 1, 2, 3 is possibly going to make a pass, nearly 3 wide, which rapidly becomes 2 wide. Oh, there is a massive incident there, and both the Mustang and the Ferrari drivers are off the racetrack into the gravel. What happened there? Oh, it was a tremendous move there by the McLaren, who put the car in a place which was ultimately impossible to achieve. You can see from here, look at the McLaren just going into the Ferrari and ultimately putting both drivers off the racetrack. Meanwhile, Deschamps loses the position on Velman, that's for 13th place. And ahead in front, Hill still sits behind Eck. Meanwhile, a contact happened here between Dyer and the car number 97. Oh, there was a little contact here, but nothing to worry too much about. as Dyer is putting together a pass on a lap the car. That was the McLaren number 111. But also Rice is trying to put his own car in front of Dyer. Oh, that's completely loose on Dyer's side. Adesso la chance in tocco minerali. Can he throw the car? He definitely cannot. But that was good enough to at least unbalance Dyer's Mustang. But by doing so, Mikos is now very close to Rice's car. Although nothing really happens there. Between the 97 and the car number 909. And then the Ferrari can try to move into Tamburello. Rice is going to be very quick. Who's likely on the gravel? That could be a good chance for Mikos from the outside. It's a bit difficult, but it's still possible. As I just made a little mistake in Tocco Minerali. Oh, bit of a jump in chicane, and now Mikos is extremely close to make an overtake. The outside is a bit difficult and a bit optimistic. He goes for the cutback. No space available, and they both remain on the same places. Still, you can see Mikos extremely aggressive on the Aston Martin, is trying to defend as hard as possible against the pro driver who, to be fair, I don't think he cares much about race placement. He just wants to battle with Dyer up front. But for now you can still see that this battle still goes on, but there is now another chance, but this time it's a good one for Mikos, who goes on his side into the chicane at Variante Alta. And that's overtake done for Mikos. And now Rice maybe has battled a bit too much with Mikos and finds himself just under a second from Ray. They're in 12th place. Race for now still follows Mikos, which now sits 2 seconds. Oh, Mikos is off into the gravel just now that he managed to overtake Rice. He finds himself in the gravel and he will lose massive amounts of position. You can see him just jumping and losing the rear. In the Variante Villeneuve, he is now in 16th. So Canada is still ahead. Last lap for Canada, it was a 41.3. It was a disastrous lap for Murasaki, who lost 2 seconds in the last lap on the car ahead. As Dyer made another mistake, he now finds himself just behind Velman. Something happened here. Oh, he lost the rear completely. He did a 360 degrees, but he now finds himself behind Rice, Ray and Velman too. A bit of a disastrous race for Dyer here. Meanwhile, speaking of Rice, he is now into the gravel. And he also lost a place. For a brief moment he didn't, but I think he will. There is a currently... Oh, Dyer goes in the middle, trading the needle. And that's a position done for Dyer. Very nice one there. Also Velman overtakes Ray, but I think I want to see it back from the beginning. You can see here the two cars just leaving the space open to Dyer to go through. There were too many issues. And Ray lost the chance to overtake Rice by doing so. But now Velman finds himself back in 11th. As Kuzmenko also in trouble. Oh, there was a contact with the Porsche head. It was the Shong in car number 15. It's back ahead. There is back ahead of the train. Well, Velman is in the middle of the two silver class drivers, with Rice in third and Ray in fourth. Kuzmenko goes into the pits. Back ahead in front, Alfano still ahead quite comfortably. He also has the quickest lap time of the race so far, 40.1 for Alfano, same as Eck, but it was a 18, whereas it was a 11 for Alfano. Hill follows 5 seconds away from the leader, and Garbi another 2.5 seconds, so it's very odd. You can see Alfano is 2.5 seconds in front of Eck, who is 2 seconds and a half in front of Hill, who is 2 seconds and a half in front of Garbi, who is 2 seconds and a half in front of Vella. And then 9 seconds behind is Murasaki with Kanner following with Curtin. That's for the battle for the lead in class. As Murasaki is now back in his own pace. Curtin just at a 40.9, fastest lap in silver class. with a 41.4 for Kalner. Ray here still struggling with Velman for 11th place overall, and Rice is trying the overtake on Dyer. Apparently he's not finding any speed at all. He's having massive difficulties so far. Dyer also won a race. It's a bit of a situation where he finds himself currently. It was like he did a mistake because now Kyler is only 7 times behind. He's still battling with Dyer. Oh, that's a lot of slide for Dyer's Mustang. And Rice still sits. Oh, there is a possible chance for Rice as Dyer took evasive action and threw the car into the gravel and then left the door open for Rice to get through into Tosa. Still the side-by-side goes on, and the Mustang on the outside remains ahead of the Aston Martin, barely, but it also, and Dyer is still in 9th place, where Rice is still in 10th. The gap is 13 seconds at this point. They're just battling for overall position rather than the class position. This camera is not very useful, I'll be honest. This is a bit more useful. Oh, that's Dyer off. Oh, that's Dyer completely. Oh, yeah, he disconnected. He's not in the race anymore. Just want to see. Oh, it's a bit too late. Just like to see if I can see the moment he. Yeah, completely disconnected. Oh, they just went off? Was it? Yeah, just put the car into the wall. It wasn't a disconnection. Okay, I have no idea, to be fair. Scanner is now ahead of Curtin and just behind Murasaki, with Mikos, who is exiting the pits after a mandatory pit stop. So 46 minutes to go. there's Murasaki off into the grass and he just lost 2 places. Was it all on himself? I think so. Yeah, definitely it was all on himself. Or he just went too much over the curb and then over the gravel. And that's Cannon and Curtin passing him. But the battle for the lead still goes on. We know Cannon in 6th place overall. And Murasaki just following Curtin. Yeah, this will be a good chance for Curtin to overtake Canner for the lead of the race. But still half of the race to go. And a pit stop maybe I think which changes the course of action. There's a bit of a long shot there for Curtin. The car is just following Karner 8 tenths behind. I think Bella just went into the pits. Yeah, he does so now. The Italian for Gladius competition into the pits from 5th place in the standings. So he's the first one of the hand of the grid to try to do something different, maybe an undercut. So you can still see that battle goes on. And Curtin still pressurizing Karner into a mistake. Last lap it was a 41.4 for the Irish driver with a 41.6 by the Austrian driver. But the Karner number 107 sitting 16 seconds behind Garbi is probably going into the pits along with everyone else. We are into the 30 minutes mark. With Murasaki not gaining on none of them. Still behind and still struggling to keep up the pace with Karner. Oh, that was a little mistake by Karner, losing the rear. Into the chicane, you can see that Curtin was slightly quicker on entry. Seems like the same on exit, but Eck now goes for the undercut on Alfano. Garbi does the same on hill, but I think the gap was good enough to just wait for the car behind to go for an overcut. As Murasaki does the same, probably trying to undercut the duo up front, but many cars are going for the overcut considering the gap is so large. And it makes sense, obviously. Going for undercut is a bit silly, considering that the majority of cars have 2.5 seconds of gap to the car ahead and behind. Few cars are into battles, as it stands, and at the end of this lap, only 6 cars will a pit stop to go, unless Brown does it at the end of the lap now. No, it's definitely not doing it, so 6 cars will still be required to pit. Obviously, more time into the first stint means less time into the second stint, meaning less fuel to bring and less wear on the tires. And this means that you also have fresher tires and better times. So the majority are going for the overcut until the very last moment, so Alfano goes in to avoid any undercut from Eck. I suppose Hill will do the same. And these two may become leaders of the race. And as a matter of fact, they both still continue, so Karner now becomes the leader of the race. As he's already leader in silver class, but he doesn't have any more. To think about anyone else. Assetto is now sitting behind a McLaren. That's I think car number 966. Not giving it. Oh, that's a major one for the number 51 who nearly wrecks himself with Olson. It was Olson. So you can see here. Okay, this was completely no sense. So have a better look from here. So look at this. The McLaren simply brakes in the middle of the turn, and I have no idea what was the plan there. I have really no idea what was also thinking about. It was extremely dangerous. And for no reason too, so I guess maybe a penalty will be applied after the race. as well as just barely behind Brown in the number 19 compared to 738. As Brown, oh, there is a hit there, and another time a silver driver. No, apologies, because also was not a silver driver. But another time that two cars nearly collided. Well, in this case they collided, although they are not on the same race. Brown still has to pit. The contact was very odd. So this was from the helicams. I thought that... Oh no, maybe it was just Vela going a bit too far off, looking from this angle, and then colliding with Brown. Because Brown effectively was stationary in his own place. We better look from here. Yeah, okay, it was... to be fair, it was on Vela there. I think he lost the car on entry and simply went too far. Yeah, another time that two cars had their moment whilst they are on two different races. So unfortunately Vela was not the innocent part. So now Alfano sits in virtually the lead of the race, since Veldeman still has to pit, and Eck is 6 seconds behind, with Hill sitting another 7 seconds, and Garvey follows 1 second, 2 seconds and a half behind Hill. And there has been no change in the pits. Karner and Curtin are still one after the other. But Vela, I think he will jump both of them. Barely, but he will do so. As Monazaki also sits and still stays behind. Melon just set his own fastest lap of the race so far, but he set a 41.2. Stefano now sits still with a 40.1 as the fastest lap of the race. Last lap it was a 40.5, but he's in extreme control of his own race. As now Murasaki is extremely close to Curtin. Now the overtakes happen between the two cars, with 777 overtaking Curtin and sitting now in 8th place and effectively dividing. Oh, that's also Curtin off the track. So you can see Martin completely overtaking Ferrari. Oh, which went then on the curb and slipped off the racing line. Now Murasaki's next target is Karner. Sitting a second ahead, so now Murasaki is in extremely better tires. I wonder if there was any damage to those tires, which I think so. Now extremely close between Kawasaki and Kannar, with Kannar struggling a bit compared to the Japanese driver in a 777. He now scores his fastest times in the race so far. 41.1 was the last lap for Murasaki, which I think at this point he simply damaged the tires earlier on. Now this car is quick again. So 41.2 compared to a 41.7 for Kannar. So Murasaki remains behind. With the Porsche at this point simply being there without real defense against Murasaki, who is extremely quicker. Not as quick as the top 5, but definitely very quick. As Mikos also set a 40.9 back there in 11th. So Arese should become an easy target for Mikos, who set a time 4 times slower than Mikos. Mistake there by Murasaki. I think it was quite equal between the two. In fact, it was a 41.2 for Kannar and a 41.5 for Murasaki. The last 15 minutes of the race. So hopefully 8 laps remain. I don't think nothing will change in the lead, and to be frank, I don't think anything will change in the top 5 at all. Zelvan just came back on the racetrack in 9th place. McLaren sitting in 19th place, going to the side and letting the other cars pass by. Okay, now little jump. That's a bit off the left line there for Murasaki. Completely off over the chicane. Resistance Kanna remains in 6th place. Slightly behind, I think Velvan and Rice are getting closer together. It was a 41.3 for both drivers. Up front, Alfano still remains leader with the fastest lap. Nike follows 8 seconds behind. Well, here I think the 777 has finally a chance to make the pass. Side by side for a brief moment, but nothing goes through. Murasaki still remains behind. As Mikos goes back into the pits. So something must have been tremendously wrong for this car, which is now back into pits. Making the third car into the pits, and maybe it's another retirement for us today. After 22 cars, so we now remain with 18, maybe 17. As a consequence, now Murasaki remains behind Karner. With Curtin, who now sits 2 seconds behind the duo. So because he's effectively back on the racetrack, but ultimately we're just ahead of Olson, who also is back on the racetrack. Fano just decided to crash his own fast lap and just set another quickest lap time. 39.8 for Alfano, which is amusing considering that in the qualifying session I think he barely made it there into the 39. Can't remember perfectly. I think both Ek and Alfano were better in 39. Now he just did it in the race. Whilst back in 6th place, Karner and Murasaki just set the fastest laps. Both of them set a 41.0 for Karner and 41.1 for Murasaki, and behind a 41.1 for Curtin, as Kasitarash just gained himself a drive-through for exceeding track limits from 15th on the standings. Now Kasitarash is into the pits to effectively serve his own drive-through. And now Kasitarash sits in front of this battle for 6th place, which lost an entire half a second in the last minute and 41 on Curtin. Now sits a second and a half behind. So there could still be a chance for Curtin to win the racing class, especially if Karner becomes of any, if Kasitarash becomes of any help to Curtin, but I don't think that will happen. It's actually slightly different with Murasaki now being held up by the Ferrari, and now Curtin will probably like that. Now Karner and Murasaki one after the other again. 41.6 for both here, while Curtin gained another half a second on Murasaki, and therefore Karner. My gap is 8 times from Curtin to Murasaki, and another 8 times to Karner. Effectively, the whole battle for 6th in the hands of these three drivers, with Curtin who was brought back to life in the last laps, with 5 minutes to go, or 3 laps. Little real snap there for Murasaki, and Curtin lost. Okay, gained 1/10 on these two, but I think he lost a tiny bit of time to the first chicane. This could still go on. The very end of the race, which is in very little time. So ultimately 20 drivers will complete the race out of 22. But to be fair, I don't think any overtake will happen. I think Alfano will cross the line in the next 25 seconds, marking the last 2 laps of the race. So these two actually have 3 laps, well 2.5 now to go. I thought there was one less. Which will make Murasaki and Curtin quite happy. I don't think Karner will be as happy as this. Oh, there was a little mistake there by Murasaki. You can see from here. It's a tremendous mistake. Oh, he just let the Ferrari pass through. I think just to give a fair battle to Karner and Curtin. Or maybe it was a mistake altogether. Or maybe it was to avoid a track limit violation, but now Murasaki sits behind Curtin. Yes, I heard a downshift. And it was quite clear that he slowed down massively, but I don't know if it was on purpose or not. Either way, he still remains in 6th place overall, 6th place in class, and now in 8th overall, but ultimately it doesn't change much in terms of class position. Now will Alfano cross the line to start a new lap, or will he end it here? I think it's the latter. No, it's the first option. So you will go for the final lap of the race. So white flag for Alfano into Tamburello. And Valente Villeneuve with, I think it is Besseling just ahead, which will leave him the race line. That's Tosa or to number 7. And we go in the upper part of the racetrack and the city into Piratella. Long left-hander, slightly over the curb, into Acque Minerali 1 e 2, first right-hander and second right-hander. Oh, Camden just made a mistake, or rather Curtin just made a mistake, who lost also the place on Murasaki. What happened there? It was a last effort. Oh, he completely missed the braking point altogether and threw the car into the gravel. So he lost a chance to win the racing class. As Alfano, as I was saying, is now into Rivazza. And after 6 rounds, it is now a win for the Gladius Competition car number 113, as Alessandro Alfano wins the race in Imola in his home soil, just in front of Benjamin Eck in the Ford Mustang 51, and David Hill for Amigos Racing Team in 3rd place in a 555. Garvey just follows in 4th. With Vella in 5th place, while his teammate concluded the race in position number 1. So now crosses the line, as Kanner finishes ahead of both Murasaki and Curtin to win the race in silver class in Imola for Advisor Racing Team, with Curtin in 2nd, as Veldeman completes the race in 9th, and Rice concludes the podium in silver class. The car number 97. With Irei, which will conclude the race in 4th in class. Just ahead of Kuzmenko in 12th overall, and Davidson, who concludes the race last on the lead lap in 13th place, with then Deshong, Brown, Mikos, Bogomas, Kasitrash, Olson, and then Besselink, Dyer and Corving finishing in 22nd. But this was the race for this evening. I have no idea if I will be here for Spa, since I have some issues. So this may be my last race of the season. If it is so, I would like to thank you all for having been here for the whole year, for the endurance season, for the sprint season, for all the one-offs, both in the commentary booth and in the race. In the races I also did. And Merry Christmas, good year, and good festivities, good holidays, whatever you are celebrating. Also my birthday, let's put it there too. And yeah, thanks to everyone who attended the races, who was an opponent in the races, was a rival, who was in the teams during the endurances. But this is quite likely the last time you will hear me for this year. Thank you everyone, and thank you for this 2024, and I hope the next one, the 2025, will be as good as this one. In the meantime, stay safe, have a good evening, good night, wherever you're in the